right, Keith Pompey, you are there with us. Jeff is telling me that this team has turned into Joel and his friends now.
Danny and the Miracles.
Thanks for giving us some time before the game tonight against the Celtics. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. But hey, before we talk about Joel and the Miracles, can we talk about the heartbreak or the tragedy that Michigan had?
Actually, no, we can't because you canceled on us last week, and that was your chance. And this is the punishment: is I don't have to hear it.
I'm just saying they look like man, they look like the Orlando Magic of the NBA. Like
Jeff got you to buy in though, Keith. I saw you rooting for those Michigan Wolverines there on your Facebook page. He got you a little bit.
It's because I like that song, But when the game started, I was like, "Well, dang!" and the game was so bad, the game was so bad that ESPN didn't even rerun it. You know how you kept seeing the Alabama Cincinnati game every 7 hours, but this game was like, "Yo, I missed it. Let me see the ending." Nah, I couldn't get it.
Keith Pompey coming in hot.
Hey, all I know, and this is also taking a shot at me, so I'm aware of what I'm about to do, but I hope you enjoy the next 4 to 5 years of Kenny Pickett being the quarterback for the Giants.
Yeah, right. You too.
Yeah. There's a little deflection right there. Go ahead.
He'll be a quality backup.
Yeah, he'll be a quality backup, but he'll be starting for the team that just so we're aware, I believe the Giants have the worst record in the NFL over the last 5 years.
Yeah,
but you know the difference between Kenny Pickett and Michigan's quarterback? Kenny Pickett's going to get drafted.
Well, that's because Harbaugh used the wrong quarterback, but that's an argument for another day.
Keith brought jokes today. Keith, we'll get Keith Pompey on football towards the end of the interview. I want to start with Keith Pompey on basketball. Sixers had their 7-game win streak snapped the other night, losing to Charlotte. They're 5th in the East. Where is this team right now, health-wise? They've had a lot of guys in protocol and injuries. Where do they stand, Keith?
They had a lot of guys in protocols and injuries, but if we want to be fair, we have to say that every team in the NBA had a lot of guys in protocols and injuries, right? The one thing that we can say is, excuse me, Joel Embiid played, and so the concern I walk away from looking at the 76ers are okay, Joel Embiid scored 31 points in 7 straight games,
mm-hmm.
and they needed him to do that for the majority of those games. So it's kind of sort of like if Joel is having an off night right now, and the Sixers team doesn't have anybody else who can step up on a consistent basis, who can help this team beat the teams I think who are ahead of them in the standings. And I think right now, tonight's game against Boston, tomorrow's game against the Miami Heat, and maybe not against Washington, because Washington still has injuries. But I think this back-to-back right now is going to tell us a lot about this Sixers squad.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by Danny and the Miracles. Is we now are looking at a Sixers team that is a center and a whole bunch of overpaid role players is what it's looking like. We no longer the guys who we thought were going to step up, the guys we were hoping were going to be clutch players at the end. They may be good, but they should be 4th or 5th players on a championship team. And right now we don't have people stepping up that are able to be the 2 and the 3. What do you do about that, and is it fixable? Is there something that can be done this year, or should we just accept the Sixers will be a 5th, 6th, 7th seed, possibly pull off something in the first round, if possible, but then that's it?
I mean, a lot of that has to do with Ben Simmons. I mean, if they can, at this point, we know that Ben Simmons isn't playing. And if Ben Simmons does play,
he's not.
It's basically an audition. You know what I mean? Oh, hey Ben, the team wants to see you run up the court to see what type of condition you're in. And I don't even so I don't see that happening. With the way this team is, I hate to say it, But to me, it looks like a first-round exit team. Now, maybe if they pull up to the number 4 seed, and then maybe they can beat the 5th seed. But as the 5th or the 6th seed, I don't see them winning a first-round exit. Now, again, if they can somehow make a trade and get someone for them, then maybe it will change a little bit. But also with that is a little, it's the unknown, because we don't know how these guys are going to mesh in a short period of time. We don't know who that person is going to be. So right now, as this team is currently constructed, I just don't see it. And the one thing, like you did say, is, you have a bunch of role players. On top of that, there are a bunch of inconsistent role players. And that's not like a knock on them. It's just that one game Furkan Korkmaz will look great, and then the next game he struggles. You know what I mean? There's one game where you look at Matisse Thybulle, and he looks great, and Danny Green struggles, and then next thing you know, it's like flip-flop. The other one struggles, the other one looks great. It seems like whoever comes off the bench looks better than the starter for most instances. So, and then Tobias Harris, he's catching a lot of flack. But I think a lot of his struggles are predicated off of, hey, we don't have a pure point guard. We don't have anybody to get me the ball in certain spots. I am a power forward. I'm an athletic power forward, but I have to initiate a lot of the offense. So I think that's putting him in an uncomfortable spot, and he doesn't have a rhythm with a pure point guard to get him the ball in the right spots that he needs to be, and that's led to a lot of his struggles. So, I know I'm a little long-winded, but I think that, what you said is right. They have a bunch of role players, but I think the fact that they're inconsistent role players that you can't depend on every night is what's going to hurt the 76ers.
One thing with inconsistency, though, you can have consistent effort. This team is 30th in the league in rebounding, about 49 a game. They were 7th in the league this year last time. What is going on with this team not hitting the boards? Is it lack of aggressiveness? Is it all just because Ben Simmons isn't on the court? I mean, what's going on here?
I think that's a majority of it. Honestly, I do. I mean, because when you look at this team, right, so, Doc Rivers will say, man, we got a small lineup, we got a small team. You're like, man, what you talking about? You have Joel, you have Drummond, you have B-Ball Paul, you have Charles Bassey, right? But when you look at it and you say, oh, you may have George Niang, you may have Tobias, but let's be real. Like, Tobias and George, they typically excel better in the perimeter on the offensive end, right? No one's saying they're a lockdown defender, especially not in the post, right? So these are two guys, although they're big, they're like in the perimeter. We don't even know if B-Ball Paul and Charles Bassey are going to start. They just started doing the Twin Towers, right? I mean, if they're going to play from night to night. I think the fact that they lost Ben, because let's face it, Ben would be, in the perimeter, at times, but a lot of times he was in the dunker spot on offense. That's 6'10". He was grabbing rebounds. He was playing well. And I think that when you take Ben Simmons out of the equation, now the person is you got Tyrese Maxey, who's 6'3", 6'4". Ben was 6'10". And then we look at these other power forwards, they're stretch bigs. So that contributes to a lot of things. It's like if Joel Embiid, the only rebounders they have on the team really are Joel and Andre Drummond. So I think the fact that Ben Simmons isn't there, that really has impacted them a lot.
So let me ask you a question about Ben Simmons. Actually, I'm going to ask you to play lawyer here. Who is behind, and what is the logic behind saying that Ben Simmons, if he does get traded, he's going to need weeks to get conditioned? Because I'll tell you that it seems to me there's no benefit to anybody to say that unless there's self-sabotage or bad negotiating.
Maybe lunch didn't go well with Rich Paul the other day.
Nah, what it is think about this. It's saying to someone. I mean, it's like you're thinking. I mean, like, I thought about it, and when it came out. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, hey, look, y'all want Ben Simmons, right? You want Ben Simmons to make this playoff push. You want him to do this and that. I'm telling you, you better come get him now, because it's going to take a couple weeks for him to get in shape, get in condition. So if I was you, I would make that trade yesterday, and you get him out there, and then in a couple weeks, it's going to be good. But as long as you keep waiting and you don't make up your mind that you don't want to give up me those four first-round picks, bruh, like, you're messing up, man. Like, it's going to be March. It's going to be March by the time Ben's able to play.
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, but I'm not buying that because if I'm another team, I'm sitting there going, wait a second here. This guy is holding out, but he can't keep himself in shape. What is he doing? I got to worry about whether or not he's going to even be committed to play if I trade for him.
Yeah, but see, again, let's keep it 100 too, right? Let's keep it real. So, Ben Simmons, like, we're talking about, you're talking like if you were a lawyer, if you were this and that. And
yeah, I pretend to be one during the day.
Yeah, So here's the deal. The deal is, like, what you're saying makes common sense, right? But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get a team, in my opinion, to bite. You understand? That's why we always hear stuff leaking that, this team might want them. Because if you really want them, then you better hurry up and come and give us something, right? And give us something. Now, see, the reason why that whole thing doesn't make sense, this isn't our grandfather's NBA, right? Where guys were in the off season, they were, working, the jobs they went to college to get their degrees for, to make money, and they came back out of shape. Right now, a prime example of this is Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson was a guy who was sitting at home with his kids, but what he did is he got up in the morning and every day, and he put in a workout. He did what he had to do. Like, you hear the stories about Ben Simmons was over at St. Joe's getting the workout in. Now we hear that he was over at Cherry Hill, Cherry Hill East, getting the workout
Keith, in. Jeff told me not to bring that up, but my phone blew up with people sending me the Twitter video of him practicing over there. Why is that going on right now?
Why is it going on? Because like what you said, like what we're talking about, these guys, these guys are getting these workouts in because once the team comes and gets them, then all of a sudden it's going to be like Tyler Johnson. I mean, if they're going to make a trade for Ben, the next thing you know, the crowd's going to like, hey, we got Ben Simmons. He may not play in that first game, and it may not be the second game, but you best believe he's going to play in the third game. Look at Tyler Johnson. He played a couple minutes in the first game. I don't buy that in today's NBA, that a guy is just sitting at home out of shape. I don't buy that.
Me either.
I don't buy it.
But I don't see how putting out that he, by practicing in a gym against a high school basketball team is a great marketing pitch to a professional basketball team, that he's out there keeping in condition against guys who are sitting on the end of the bench.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like, here's the deal. Like, let's keep it real. What it is word comes out that, Ben Simmons is going to take a couple weeks to get in shape. Well, the next thing you know, there's a video posted of him playing pickup basketball. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, like, I hate to say it, man, it's all like optics nowadays. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, it's like before, like, the Sixers will say one thing, and the next thing you know, Ben will react a different way, and then this and that. Like, right about now is all about, like, everybody's trying to, let people know, well, if you want to do this, you better do it quickly. He's not going to be in shape, and he's coming back and like, I'm not in shape. I'm working out. You know what I mean? Like, let's face it, it doesn't matter who he works out with. Like, if we really want to be real, like the low-minute guys on the 76ers, they practice with, now some of these dudes play college ball, but some of them, they just trainers. But that's who they have pickup games with. So you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, like, come on, man, like, this can't be productive. But what it is all about that person, getting his energy up and him making shots and this and that, and people could care who's in front of him at that time,
Is he making, by the way, free throws while he's at Cherry Hill?
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Jeff just likes to twist that. Look, I guess my question
What
is,
do I have to twist?
to me, there's a defensiveness about this team, whether it's the arguments over whether or not the fans have the right to boo and how the players respond, whether it's Doc getting defensive over questions that are asked by you and other reporters in the press conference. Is it just a frustration with this whole circus that's gone on, or am I seeing it wrong? It just seems like people resent the fact that they're being questioned on their decisions right now.
I think there is a frustration because, I keep saying let's keep it real, let's keep it 100. I'm sorry. I need to get another transition, right?
Jeff will give you something cool.
Well, look,
yeah,
well, Keith, we are giving you some leeway here since you finally asked a great question.
Oh, okay. Right. Hey, my response is like, man, I liked it better when we were arguing.
Doc Rivers, for those that didn't hear the post-game press conference, Doc Rivers acknowledged that he asked a great question.
And for Keith, I tried really hard for Jeff to get the audio of that clip so we could play out. But the only thing I was able to find was the audio from the previous question he didn't like, where he responded to you in a way that I can't play on the radio.
Yeah. So that was crazy. But, the thing is, I forgot what the last question was.
I was just asking about the defensiveness.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The deal is, we all see it. We ask the questions like, hey, Doc, yes, you guys beat another depleted team, but Joel Embiid had to score a lot of points, and you had to come up with a run late in the game to steal this victory over a team made up of mostly G Leaguers, right? So he knows that. But he's always painting a picture of we're holding this thing together. So it comes to a point in time when we continue to ask these questions, it becomes frustrating. Because you're up here trying to paint this picture like, oh, everything is great. But in the back of your mind, you're hoping man, I wish we would have made this trade months ago. If we would have had this player right here and there. Now, again, they're not coming out and saying this, but deep down inside, they know it's messed up. They know, they play. They know, man, you mean to tell me we just had to struggle to beat the G League All-Stars? You know what I mean? Dang, if Joel didn't play tonight, or if Joel had a bad night, that would have been another bad loss.
I mean, look, they've been going through the Ben saga. It's a year ago now today that they trade for James Harden was next. So, they've been going through this after telling him for a really long time now. I can imagine that's wearing on everybody.
Yeah, it is. But then at the same time, it's kind of well, you know what? We're a tight-knit group. Our culture is so great. Oh, I love these guys and this and that. I'm not saying that's not true, that these guys don't get along and they don't have fun and they don't do this, they don't do that. But there comes a point in time when you look at it and you've been playing ball long enough to know that I'm just painting a positive picture, and I'm a little bit concerned about what we're doing because, yes, they beat the Orlando Magic. Yes, they beat the Houston Rockets twice. They beat the Toronto Raptors, a depleted Toronto Raptors team. Now, they did have, Pascal Siakam did come back, right? So, this and that. So they weren't as bad as they were when that Toronto Raptors team was embarrassed 2 nights before against Cleveland. But at the same time, your Sixers are dang, this isn't good. And even when you look at it, you talk about that Brooklyn win. When they defeated Brooklyn, I was like, okay, this is a great win. this is a great win. And then you look and you see how Brooklyn's been struggling since, So it's kind of sort of like, that's why I said, it's funny. I got a friend who covers the Charlotte Hornets and for the Charlotte Observer, and we were talking before the game, and he said, "So what do you think's going to happen tonight?" I said, "Charlotte's going to win." He said, "What are you talking about, dude? They can't beat the Sixers with Embiid." I said, "Yes, they can. They have guards. They have quality guard play, right? Embiid's going to score a lot of points, and they're going to beat the Sixers." So it's like and we're talking about a Hornet squad that's not in the upper echelon in the league, but they have a nice blend of young players. They have a lot of heart. They play ball, and I just think that at this particular time, this 76ers squad is going to struggle against quality ball clubs because they don't have the depth and they don't have that consistent scorer. And the Sixers know that, and that's why it's a little bit of frustration when you ask the question. Because what they want you to do is they don't want you to create a narrative that they're bad. What they want you to do is they want you to bring up all the positive things, like such and such got a double-double. Oh, like this person became the first player since Charles Barkley to have this type of stat. But the thing is, you guys lost the game or you barely beat an undermanned team. So that's why they get a little snippy, because they don't want that to be the narrative.
Yeah, well, look, watching Joel Embiid is exciting, but watching a big man isn't exciting for a whole game or a week or a month, and these days isn't going to win you. I mean, I was texting you the other day. I was watching the Memphis Grizzlies. They are exciting to watch, win or lose, mostly win, but that's an exciting team to watch because of their guard play and what they've put around them. So is there for people that are listening to this, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Is there a potential trade? We know it's not going to be Dame Lillard or even CJ McCollum now, because both of those guys don't seem to be playing anytime soon. Is there any potential deal out there that can turn this around? Because I'm still not sold that Tyrese Maxey is the point guard that can at least make people like Tobias better again.
The thing is, to me, the best deal that they can get right now that could possibly help turn it around, and I don't even think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, so I'm embarrassed for saying it. But if there's a player that probably would be available, I think that could help them, that would have to be Bradley Beal this year, right? That would have to be Brad, right? Or, right, outside of that, because I don't think like a guy like James Harden is going to get traded this year. I don't think that, maybe like Blake Griffin or somebody would have to struggle mightily for them to say, okay, well, we'll take Ben off your hands. And also, last I heard, Ben wasn't vaccinated. I don't know what his status is now, but you can't have him and Kyrie both in New York at the same time, right? Not being able to play, right? So that can nix that. But so outside of that, I honestly have to say that the best option the Sixers could have is basically, and it's not going to help them this year, but would probably do a sign and trade with James Harden this summer, trying to see if New York, because if Harden says, hey, I want out, I'm about to become a free agent, someone's going to give me a max, and they're like, ho, let's just do this signing trade, we'll give you, the max, and then we'll trade you to Philadelphia. I mean, I think that might be the best thing outside of, basically trading for Dame Lillard.
All right,
and I don't know if that's going to happen.
Before I let you go cover the game tonight, over under on whether you last before the Eagles game starts or after for the crying Jordan memes for us Eagles fans.
Man, you know what? I was telling somebody I wasn't even going to watch that game this week. Like, I don't even think it. You know, I just think it's going to get ugly. Personally, I don't even know. Like, I mean, I think now again, and I don't mean to be ill, but
yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
The NFC East was the Big Ten of football. It
Wow.
couldn't compete with the SEC.
Boy, you have a way to see. You are a good writer, but you just bringing it around, right?
Bringing the heat, Keith Pompey.
I'm just messing.
Wow.
No, I'm messing. But you know what? The NFC East was like. The NFC East was bad.
The NFC East was a dumpster fire. That's why I have
but
no
am I right,
idea.
though?
Like, I can roll out stats that say this could be a great team, but it's against the Little Sisters of the Poor half the time. So it's like I have no idea what they are.
Well, and see, that's the funny thing. Like, and I hate to be, critical, but it
No,
was
you
like
don't.
I used to get upset with some, like I would I trash talk and let people know that I'm always just having fun, right?
Yeah.
But I would trash talk with people, and they were like, "Well, we lost to Dallas, and we had our backups." And I want to say, well, the last game that Daniel Jones played was when the Giants beat the Eagles. That was like the last game. And then who were those receivers? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, and the same thing with Dallas. I mean, and not Dallas. The Redskins were like, bringing the practice squad players up and starting them. So it's kind of like, the Eagles beat those teams. Dallas, were beating those teams as well. I just don't think that the Eagles are any good. I don't think that Dallas is any good right now. And I mean, it's just comparable other things. Like, here's a prime example. Dallas was 6-0 in the NFC East, beating teams by an average margin of 20-something points, right? They were 6-5 outside of the NFC East, and their wins were by an average of 2 points. So that just tells you how bad.
Look, the Eagles haven't.
By the way, how impressed are you that he came with those stats?
I'm not surprised.
Look at that.
I'm
He
not
came with
surprised in the
ammo.
least. But look, I mean, Keith, when I say it, the Eagles haven't beaten a team over 500 this season. So I have no idea what to expect. I didn't. Jeff keeps saying.
How sad is it that Jason talks smack against himself?
Well, no, it's just the reality. Like you can be like blinded and say
support your team.
They're going to
dude.
win this.
You're wearing
game.
your Eagles jersey.
I'm going to watch it and hope
Yeah.
that they win, but I don't have the expectation they're going to beat the Super Bowl champions. But I do think that there's a way, especially with the weather. And, you can't run against the Bucs up the middle, but you can run off the edges to them. Now, can the Eagles do that? Who knows? But, we'll see. I'll be watching, and then I'll be watching in the comments thread for the Flame War after Keith puts up his memes. Keith Pompey.
Yeah, I'm working on some of them today.
I have no doubt. Believe me, you're hoping for a blowout in the Sixers game tonight so you can work on your memes for Sunday. Keith, enjoy covering the game. Always a blast to talk to you, man. Take care of yourself.
Hey, thanks for having me on, fellas.
You take care of yourself.